Why, yes, yes he did. Michael Jackson actually stole the intro for Beat It from this record right here. So this was a demonstration record for a very complicated and expensive synthesizer.
And this is what the record actually looked like. This is the incredible sounds of the Synclavier II, and they even wanted this demonstration record to stand out, so they pressed it in blue vinyl.
At least it was expensive back then in the early 80s. It was not just a synthesizer, but it was a synthesizer workstation where you could program and sample sounds. It was state-of-the-art, and like I said, it cost as much as a house back then.
And this is what it looked like. This is the Synclavier II, the last synthesizer you'll ever need. Yours for the bargain price of a 2-bedroom ranch house in the valley. These things were not cheap.
Other artists were using a system called the Fairlight, which was similar, and that actually had a computer screen. You could draw the waveform on the screen. But another competitor was this thing called the Synclavier, and then later on the Synclavier II, which is the one that most people picked up on, even though, like I said, I don't remember exactly, but it was 80, 100 grand. It was a lot of money back in the day. So anyway, when you bought this Synclavier II synthesizer workstation, they wanted to show you what it was capable of doing, some of the sounds that it could make. So you got this record, which of course is what you would have gotten back then in 1980 or whatever. And it just had some of the sounds that the instrument was capable of making on there, including this one that they called a gong. And this is what they played with this gong sound on the record. Now it was played by another guy, but the guy we're going to talk about is Denny Yeager, because he is the one that's mentioned most, of the time when people, relate this story about what happened back then. And he was the guy that programmed the sound, that kind of invented or made the sound, and he composed what you hear, the little chord sequence at the beginning of Beat It.
Hey, I'm jumping in here to do a quick update on this video because I just downloaded the Synclavier Go app. I mean, I know we're all used to apps and iPads, and it's no big deal to most people, but in 1980, to do what this app here could do, it cost you the same price as a house, like $150,000. And now, 20 bucks in an app, you too can sound just like the intro to Beat It. So this is the patch they call Galactic Symbol. It was on the system disk right here, meaning it just came with the unit. There were stock sounds you could use right out of the box. And this is the second one. You didn't have to go too far till you found it. And in the key of G, this is what you get. Sound familiar?
Like I said, he didn't play it, but he had kind of the most, credit for, bringing that into existence on this, demonstration record for this synthesizer. And he wasn't initially given credit for his work, which clearly this is his work. It's exactly the same thing. But later on, I think his name was added to Thriller, and then he was invited to play on, I think, Dirty Diana and Smooth Criminal, to play what I assume is some more Synclavier sounds on those records. And probably that was some sort of compensation, most people think, for the fact that they just nicked this whole intro from something that he had previously released, although not commercially. It was a demonstration record. You know how many people got that record? Well, you had to spend your $80,000 to buy a Synclavier II first. So, of course, not a lot of people heard it. Hardly anyone would know where it came from, but Michael either had the Synclavier II himself or was exposed to it from some of the studio musicians that were around. I don't know if he owned one himself or, like I said, had access to one, but he heard that demonstration record and he liked it so much, he recreated it right in the beginning of Beat It. Now, I said recreated because it is not taken from the record. It is literally replayed on the Synclavier instrument by a guy named Michael Boddicker, who did a lot of synthesizer work for Michael. Matter of fact, I remember seeing Michael Boddicker in the studio with racks and racks and racks of synthesizers. I was an employee of the studio that Michael worked at when he was recording Dangerous. Michael Boddicker was still working on that record at the time with Michael Jackson. And like I said, they would just cart in, cases and cases of synthesizers. He'd have a whole wall of them around him, a dozen keyboards or whatever to access different sounds and things like that. Maybe even brought in the Synclavier. I don't know at that point if they still were using it. But anyway, so as the story goes, and we'll wrap it up here because it's just a cute little story. Michael really liked that intro that he, heard from that Synclavier demonstration record. He wanted to just put it right at the beginning of Beat It. Engineer Bruce Swedien said, we don't want to recreate anything like that or just, take it from one source and stick it right on the front of the song. This is Michael Jackson. We want everything to be original and interesting and new. But Michael loved it, and he thought it was funny that it would come from this, demonstration record, which nobody would know at all. And so, like I said, he didn't just copy the recording. He recreated and had Michael Boddicker play these same chords with the same gong sound. So, of course, it was going to sound exactly the same. And that's how it ended up on the front of Beat It. And then, like I said, this guy, Denny Yeager, got wind of it and said, oh my God, this is like a #1 song, and it's my synthesizer intro from the Synclavier II. So either he reached out or maybe they reached out to him and said, hey, I'm sorry we, took this off your record and stuck it on ours, and worked out some kind of deal where maybe the compensation was he got to play on, Smooth Criminal and Dirty Diana, and, I'm sure made a lot of money just as a studio session musician, or they worked out some other kind of deal in private. Nobody knows. It's never been documented. But in any case, that's how those weird gong sounds got in the beginning of Beat It, and it is directly not the same recording, but copied from another record. All right, that's all I got. See ya.